What up, all you lucky pastiches with healthy immune systems? Germy McSickface has returned. It is I, Roman Empire. I'm no longer hacking, coughing, and sneezing and all the terrible things that were happening. Some of which too unpleasant to share with you right now. And so, I'm healthy enough to get back to our little Xenoverse adventure here with Hot Pants McGee and his trusty pal, Poopstick. Good old Poopstick Chan here. It's gonna come with me on my recovery adventures back into the Xenoverse. I was miserable, and I was alone here too, so I had to get a friend of mine to literally go out an emergency run and grab me like so much NyQuil and Gatorade and crackers and things. I was a mess. So I'm just glad to be like mobile and able to speak. I considered, because it had been yet another break from me being sick, trying to do some content earlier, but even a couple days ago I just wasn't able to sit down and do anything. So we're recapping here. We're in the Planet Namek Saga of the TV show. And as you can see, I have a new little hot pants look. I did a little customizing before I got sick. You can still hear I have a little bit of a nastiness. There's still a little bit of the boobans, as some would say. But yeah, looking sweet. All those bands and the color coordinated red, white, black look. I keep forgetting that I have to manually do this dialogue. I got some new games while I was sick. I didn't get to play most of them until I got better, but I think they'll be fun. I'll do them at some point on the channel. One of them is super, super hard, but I love it. I still haven't beaten it. I've redone it and tried it. It's kicking my matukas, but I wanted to get back into this because I didn't want to fall into the lull of not doing it. Even though my energy is still not 100%, I didn't want to hold myself back, because I knew that it would get too easy to fall into the pattern of just not doing it because it felt easier. But here we go. So hopefully I remember the controls well enough that I'm gonna hold my own. Facing Dodorian Zarbon here. There he is, sassy Roman and his friend Poopstick. All right, rocky start at the beginning there, but doing all right now. And I'm for the story mode purposes, I'm not doing like just all Piccolo based stuff or whatever. I'll do that on my own time to like help build this character up. But oh no, I don't have enough ki with this outfit. Oh crap. Oh man, that sucks. I didn't test that out. I didn't know how much it was gonna drop my stuff. Oh boy, that's not helpful. Look like supermodel here with the blonde and the hot pants. How do you like that, Zarbon? I'm prettier than you. I'm so pretty. Oh, right into a cutscene. Okay. Oh man. Yeah, and there's gonna be a race against the clock right now because I got an electric blanket, which stimulates my intestines quite a bit. I also had coffee. I had a plate load of pancakes, some greasy bacon. So speaking of Poopstick Chan, I'm fighting a battle with my booty hole here, because it is gonna be, like I said, race against the clock. We'll see which wins first. My need, which in retrospect probably shouldn't have started recording right after I started getting that gurgling feeling, but I did. So here we are, and yep, see the little nod there from Vegeta. He knows what's up. So yeah, I guess we'll see which wins, my digestive system or the recording of the story mode here. So I'm getting lost and distracted because I'm really not 100%. and it's taken all my effort to like, concentrate on what I'm doing, but I also have to comment on what I'm doing, so it's not as easy as it looks for everybody who's out there thinking about doing it. Not saying don't do it. If it's something you want to do, do it. But anticipate that it's going to be harder than you expect it to be. It's especially difficult if it's a difficult game. If you're playing a game that's super, super hard and you have to talk during it and be entertaining, or at least attempt to be entertaining, it is incredibly difficult because you forget that holding a conversation, even alone by yourself, holding a conversation point and making it all logical and keeping the through line of your thought process and making it understandable for people who are listening while playing a game that requires you to focus your attention on it and one that you can't really just phone in. This one, luckily, I can do a bit of muscle memory on this because it's like a lot of fighting games where if you know the button combinations and such, you can sort of muscle memory it a lot. But that being said, it still requires concentration. I have to keep in mind what I'm doing. I have to look at the health of the characters. I have to know where my allies are, what's going on. It's not easy. So now imagine if I was playing something like Dark Souls and I had to keep the conversation going while going through one of the most difficult games you can play. It's just sort of the task at hand. It's easy to ramble like I'm doing now because that's the only way you'll sort of keep from dead silence just permeating throughout everything you're doing, is because if you just stop talking to concentrate on the game, you'll forget. And even if it's for a few seconds, you'll just forget, and then it will be silence for like a good minute, 2 minutes, where you go, oh my god, I forgot I'm supposed to be talking, and you forget that you're recording. It's so easy to forget that you guys are there, basically. That's because basically in my world, you're my microphone. You're listening to me through this in my. That's obviously not how science works. That's not what I'm saying. But what I mean is, metaphorically speaking, my audience isn't in the room with me, so I can lose track of the fact that you're here. If you've ever played, my first clash. We didn't have a clash in any of the episodes we've done yet. That was cool. When you hit each other at the same time, you do that clash. But yeah, what I was saying, when you have somebody in the room with you, you know, if you play video games in real life with people around, it's easy to remember to like have a conversation and talk to them and not leave them out of what's going on, because you see them, they're in the room with you, you hear them, their presence is known to you at all times, so it's difficult to forget they're there unless you're so engrossed in the game that you literally are just like blocking out their presence. But when you're in this kind of a setup, the microphone is you guys. That's the closest thing I have to a physical representation of the fact that you're there. So if I'm just looking at my screen and playing, it's easy to sort of, this microphone is sort of in my peripheral. It's just there. And it's like any other inanimate object. It might be there and I might see it, but I'm not paying attention to it really. So, wow, he just got obliterated. I remember the cartoon and they would like turn white and you would see them like sort of get obliterated, but that was like chunks. He turned into chunks. He straight up turned into chunks. But it's another inanimate object in the room, so you're not really thinking about it. It's easy for like just sort of not pay attention to it. So if you go silent for just a little bit, all of a sudden you just forget that because you start focusing on playing the game. It happens all the time. With MFW, it's a little different because all I'm focusing on is the commentary during those times. I'm not playing the games. The AI is doing that. I don't want to affect the results of the matches, so I'm not playing. So it's easier for me to just focus on talking. But even in the earlier episodes, for those of you who've watched them, you could probably tell the difference between when I first started doing it and then later on when I started getting better at it. Because in the beginning there are some silences that are only a few seconds long, but it feels like an eternity. Versus later on where I got used to the fact that, you know, don't really have as much room. You get a few moments to breathe with silence, but then you got to get right back in the game. I'm going to turn my TV down a little bit because I have it really low right now and it's still pretty loud. And I'm using the electric blanket here because I didn't want the heater that I'm using, which is sort of like a fan thing, to be blowing and you can hear it over the mic. So that is why I'm risking my intestines here. Man, those hot pants, man. That's just showing off them Saiyan musculars. Oh, that's right. This is something about laying a time egg or something.
Is a divine bird that manipulates time.
That's what it is. A brand new universe. His eggs make universes. He lays universe eggs. It's so Japanese. There's a lot of the Eastern influenced shows with like when they make up mythologies and stuff, because just like what we do with Western mythologies and stuff like that, when they make up stuff for, they'll have like animals that create universes or have worlds on their backs and stuff. It's just such a, we find it silly, but then we think about like our creation myths and stuff like that, and they're just as silly, they're just as ridiculous, they're just as implausible and over the top. But there is something very fitting for a cartoon when it's something like a bird laying universes as eggs.
Looks like we've both got it rough. Just do your best.
Me and my poop stick running the world. But yeah, I don't know, guys. I no self-diagnosis here. I don't think self-diagnosis is healthy. Just to put that out there. I'm not talking about me being sick. That's not what I'm talking about. But I probably would say, again, I'm not a medical professional. This is just based off what minimal research I've done and what I know of the symptoms from doing some reading and stuff like that. I've probably been struggling with some form of manic depression or something to that effect, where my mood rockets from very, very high to very, very low. Very, I would say frequently. It's not super frequently. It's not like I'm a weirdo who every 3 seconds has a different mood going. That's not what it is for me. But I do definitely, from day to day, and sometimes in the middle of the day, have very distinct shifts. And being sick is really brutal for that. Because especially if you're alone and sick, all you have to occupy your time is your thoughts. And that can be really not helpful if you're someone like me who does struggle with those kinds of very extreme mood swings. So, I mean, just to put that out there, because I know I talk to you guys all the time about taking care of yourselves and mentally and physically and all that. Oh, that's right. I made him Mr. Popo Power Pole. That was his nickname. That's so dumb. Oh, that's so dumb. What was I thinking? Anyway. Point being, what was I talking about? Yeah, I've been at a pretty low place recently. And like I said, I do think it's important to acknowledge when you're in those places, not to deny it, not to keep things bottled up, because I don't think that does anyone any favors. And especially, I think it's difficult for people to talk about that kind of stuff because there's a lot of perception about it from a pride standpoint that somehow it's a weakness. It makes you weak to be that way. That if you're admitting it, you're admitting you're crazy or unstable or whatever the case is, or you're admitting your whatever the connotation that you attach to it is. And it's probably way more serious than people are expecting and probably not entertaining to talk about. But I think it's something I'm in the place to talk about right now, so I don't want to lose that opportunity because I may not be able to genuinely and sincerely talk about it the way I am right at this moment. But I think it's incredibly important not to attach those connotations to it as much as possible because it is something everyone struggles with, even the strongest people. to some degree or another. Some people are obviously very much more affected by it than others. But I think it's something that I've been trying to get a handle on. I don't have access to therapy. I don't have the money for that. I don't have the insurance to cover it. There's a lot of reasons. It's not an avenue that's available to me. But sometimes just talking to somebody is all you can do. And sometimes you don't have access to that either for whatever reason. And for me, I think it's easier for me to talk like this where you're not in the room with me. So I don't have to worry about being immediately judged. Do you know what I mean? Even though I'm not saying anybody would do that, you remove that stigma from yourself, where you just stop thinking about what is that person across from me looking at me thinking right now when I'm revealing this information. So that being said, it's easier for me in this sort of setting to just say, like, I struggle with this a lot. I struggle with being upset with my own failures, being upset with not being in the place I want to be right now, being upset with things that are out of my control, that I did as much as I could, or I perceived as much as I could. Or maybe I didn't do everything I could, but I didn't know it at the time. And having those regrets and thinking about those regrets and dwelling on that can be really damaging. But the reason I'm bringing this up, because like I said, I was sick and was in that place. You have to acknowledge those feelings, not bottle them up, not deny them. And if you can, talk to somebody about them, because you will find that even the people you think have it all together and have everything collected and in control don't. Not all the time. There's always going to be moments that people, even the most put together, collected people, just aren't on that level. They just aren't 100%. And you'd be surprised the kind of people that you would run into who would say, yeah, I struggle with that. I struggle with depression. I struggle with this. I struggle with this mental health issue. So I bring that up because I think it's worth, it's worth asking yourself, do I struggle with these kinds of things? Am I, maybe it's not super often, but is it something that I should be aware of? Is it something that I should talk to somebody about? Because even when you're at your best and you think everything's going really well, that's temporary, and there's always going to be something that gets you in a bad mood or something that happens. And then you forget all of the good things that were happening, all the good stuff that you were focusing on, and you dwell on the negative, because that's a lot of people do that. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. Like, if you're struggling with that, or if you believe you might be, please talk to somebody. It's never good to just keep that to yourself. And if I don't have a lot of people, watching or listening into this channel just yet, so I know I'm not reaching a huge audience. I'm not making this massive impact. But for the people that are watching, for the people that are here, for the people that are taking the time to spend some time with me and enjoy themselves and get a laugh in, and whatever the case is, if there's anything you're struggling with, I would like to be able to help you, especially if it's something that I know how it feels myself. So please, don't be afraid to talk about that kind of stuff with somebody. And it does make you weak. It makes you human. So please be okay with being human and being yourself and all that good stuff. So now we got that out of the way. Let's get back to fighting the Ginyu Force here, which is just a collection of weird looking folks. This guy is he is a potato testicle. He is a green potato testicle. He's got eyes all over the place, and he just looks like a big old warty ball. It just beat Raykum, I think, pretty quick. I don't know if that's the order you're supposed to beat him in for, like, sometimes you get special finishes for beating them in certain orders. I don't know. I forget how it works. I kept holding the wrong triggers there. Alright, so now I got it locked in. Yep, he went behind me. Oh, God, Sabbath. Did I say Chris Sabat by accident? I think I might have said that Sabat. I don't know, I'm just babbling at this point. I feel awkward now because I was super serious. I'm supposed to transition back into being like entertaining somehow. I was just talking about depression, mental health issues. Well, what are you gonna do? Sometimes you get serious. You know what I mean? Sometimes you have something serious you want to talk about. So I did. What are you gonna do? I'm wearing a poop stick and almost no clothes, and I'm still talking about serious issues. That's the mark of an artist here. What am I talking about? It sounded so condescending and pretentious. I have missed this though. I wanted to do a lot more of it, but like I said, I was sick, and that was really. This probably won't come out until Tuesday because I might be able to finish editing this and all that by the end of the day today, but and today is Monday if you haven't figured that out, from the way I'm talking, but I'll probably put this up Tuesday instead just so it's up earlier and more people can see it and all that. So I'm sorry that it's taken so long, and I'm sorry that I've had all these interruptions. I'm just trying to find my footing in this channel and figure out, the ropes. I've never done this before, and like any of this before. I haven't done any video editing before. I remember this part of the show. That was a great moment when I was a kid. And Goku just came back out of nowhere and just booty crack McGee over here got like elbowed in the stomach. It was just out. And that's how anime works, like with fighting stuff, is like somebody who like they struggled so much with somebody early in the show, and that person's getting the crap beat out of them later on in the series, and then main character swoops in and he's like more powerful than all of them combined, and then more powerful people show up and they still have to get better. Anyway, what was I talking about? I got interrupted by the. I'm still trying to find my bearings with all this stuff because I've never done any of it before. I've never recorded games. I've never recorded commentary for games. I've never edited videos before, like ever. If you think that if you at all think that my videos seem like decently professional, that's the hugest compliment I can get because I'm literally such an amateur. I've never done any of this before, and I've just been getting a really great reception from the people who have commented on the videos. And it means the world to me because I literally was flying off the seat of my pants and just winging it. Just straight winging it. Like, I have no clue how I picked up any of the knowledge that I have about editing the videos or about, like, I asked some people around. Like, I have some friends who I asked because they're doing stuff like this. Like, what equipment do you use and what would you recommend and what do I need to know and stuff like that. But even then, that all of that is just you listening to. It's like listening to a lecture in class. Like, that doesn't mean you actually know about what it is you're learning about yet. You still have to do it. You still have to make, the practical experience still has to be a factor. And I had none of it. So definitely a situation for me that is completely unfamiliar territory. So I'm still trying to figure that out and still trying to figure out like how to get back into MFW because that requires so much more work and that requires so much more preparation. And this obviously what you're seeing now, the Turles stuff, is part of the unique storyline of the game where he's giving them the fruit that make them more powerful and stuff like that and messing with the timeline because that doesn't actually happen in the show, obviously. Yeah, MFW requires so much more like preparation. Like I have like 3 notebooks. Probably shouldn't be giving away the secrets of the trade. But when I'm doing MFW, I have to use a lot of reference notebooks that like have all the names I've come up with and have all has the week-to-week history of all the shows so that I can recall like things that happened and bring them back up like you would on regular commentary for a wrestling show. So I'm basically writing like an actual wrestling show in a way. I just don't have a script for my commentary. But I am doing a lot of the research and writing and continuity work and stuff like that. And that is exhausting, to say the least. It takes a lot of effort. So that's something that's way harder to just jump right back into without any momentum. Like when I was doing the first batch, that first 47 episodes, I was just, week to week, I was just recording game footage, recording commentary, editing episodes, repeat. Like I was nonstop. Probably contributed to the first time I got sick because I was just workaholicing myself to death. Relentless work. So when you suddenly have a break in that and you get sick, like I did the first time, and then you're no longer capable. What happened there? I cleared it? But Goku got knocked out and...
Don't forget how that felt.
Alright, I'll take it. Whatever. I don't know what happened there. But when you suddenly have a huge interruption like that, and you're not doing it for a while, suddenly to have to go back into it, do all those notes, and then prepare for a recording, and to do like it is a different beast, and it's really, really difficult to get that momentum back and to get back into it. So I'm trying. I'm really trying, guys, and your support means a lot, obviously, and that helps. But you just gotta bear with me and know that it's always in the back of my mind. It's always something I'm thinking about. And like I said, like with my other mental health struggles, I guess we'll call them. That seems to... I don't want to minimize people who have definitely clinically diagnosed issues, but I think it's the most apt phrasing for what it is. Like with all of that, it's something that, you know, I can only do when I'm capable. I can't... I've learned that pushing myself through those moments isn't always the best approach. It can actually sometimes be really damaging. So I don't want to jump into that when I'm, you know, when I'm not ready, because I don't think it's going to do the channel any favors, because it'll show in my work. I think it'll be very obvious when I'm not, you know, fully in that mindset and I'm not fully in it. And I don't want the content quality to suffer because of that. Especially when I care so much about the product itself. I love MFW. I love the concept of it. Nobody was doing something like that, so I wanted to do it for myself, and for people who are like me, who like that kind of stuff, who like that sort of simulated fantasy warfare combat with comic book characters and in that pro wrestling setting, which is the closest thing we have in modern times to superhumans doing battle, because they're doing all these crazy things that people shouldn't be physically capable of doing. So I'm passionate about it, but so I don't want it to be half-assed. I don't want it to be something that I'm not giving it my best. But I promise I will get there. It's just a matter of being in the right place and being prepared to do it, and having the time and the resources and all that, because I'm doing this by myself. That's another thing that makes this more difficult. Like, a lot of other channels have multiple people recording and multiple people doing editing and multiple people doing, you know, when I should say not a lot of channels that do the variety of stuff that I'm trying to do tend to have more people working on them. Because normally you would just do the MFW stuff, or you would just do the various games series, or you would just do, you know what I mean, or you just do one-offs. Original content like MFW, like creating a storyline from scratch essentially, and just playing a game and commenting over it, and a let's play, so to speak. They're two very different beasts, and normally you would do one or the other. I was very passionate about wanting to do the MFW thing, but I also did want to do let's plays. So it's you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. I either sacrifice wanting to do one or the other and just focus on one, or I do everything I want to do, but I push myself pretty significantly. That being said, you see what choice I made. So it's pretty taxing. It's an exhausting thing, and obviously there's points where I'm suffering for it, physically or with the channel itself, of trying to get everything done and not being able to. But I promise you I will get it done, because it's something I want to do. It's something I want. I want this channel to be something I can be proud of, that has a lot of I don't want to say a lot of followers, because it's not about it's not about like trying to get attention. I just want people to enjoy it. I want a lot of people to enjoy it. So I just want an audience who's going to appreciate what we're doing here and who's going to have fun with it and laugh with me and smile with me and all that stuff. That which sounds dorky, but you know what I mean. I guess I'm in an emotional place because I've just been sick, and anybody who's been sick, you know, you're kind of raw and vulnerable during and after, just after it happens. So, you know, that's what I want for this channel. That's where I'm at. And you know, maybe that's a lot I'm putting on my plate, and maybe it's making it harder for me. But I think it's worth it, and hopefully you guys agree. And like I said, I'm going to try and get a Patreon set up because if people are willing and would like to support, I normally don't like doing stuff like that because I feel weird. I'm not good at like the business aspect of creative stuff. That's probably part of why I had some of the issues with my acting career so far, is because I've had trouble with that selling yourself aspect, which is definitely a huge part of it, and it makes me feel gross. It makes me feel really gross doing it. It's one of those things where I'm like, if you're good at it, it should be enough. That you just like, people should see that you have a skill for it and that you're dedicated and all that, and that should be enough. But it's not. It unfortunately isn't. There's a whole business behind it, and that has its own aspects. But we're diverging from the topic. But I'm gonna try and get a Patreon set up so that if people do want to support it, it would mean the world to me. Obviously, no pressure to do that. I'm never gonna demand anyone from my audience contribute in that way at all. But if it happens to be something you want to do, and you do that for me, that would make it so much easier on me, because then I can do things like get games that I want to play for the channel that I currently can't afford, and get better equipment, get better camera, which I would like to do at some point, because the camera I have now is just not cutting it. There's a lot I want to do, and I don't necessarily have the means to do it just yet.
Don't forget how that felt.
So I will try to get that set up, and hopefully that's something that people will be interested in helping out with. But that's, you know, trouble for another day. But we're just a little past the 30-minute mark, so it's as good a time as any as we're wrapping up this story. Or this chunk of the story anyway. Oh, there's my old guy. Hey, you Vanden. Probably looking at me like, what the hell are you wearing? But yeah, that's a story for another time. We're wrapping up. Thank you guys for joining me. I know this was definitely a more serious episode than the last few, which is weird because we have like Ginyu in there with all the weird poses and like switching bodies, which seems ripe for some sort of comedy, but I just wasn't in the headspace for it today, I guess. Thank you for listening, which I assume you were doing if you got this far into the episode and didn't change the video. So thank you. I kind of need to get a lot of that off my chest. Like I said, your support means the world. I'm happy to have every single viewer who consistently comes back to the channel, every new viewer who comes to the channel for the first time. All of that gives me hope that I can turn this into something fun and beautiful and weird and strange and enjoyable. And that you guys will get just as much of a kick out of it as I do. That's my hope. And if you have, like I said, if you had suggestions, games you want to see played that you think will be fun to watch, or that will be difficult for me, or that will scare me, or whatever the case is, hit me up with them in the comments. Do it. Remember to like these videos. Comment on them. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. Because that apparently happens a lot. People missing videos. And very specifically, if you get unsubscribed, it happens. Just resubscribe. That's just, there's nothing I can do about that on my end. So you just got to do your best to keep a track of it and make sure that you're not losing any subscriptions to the channel. Because there's no way for me to really track that. I can only see that I've lost a subscriber. And I don't know if that's by choice or a mistake. But hopefully any subscribers I've lost have been completely by mistake. I hope so. I hope I'm keeping you guys around. I hope you're having fun watching. So me and my friend Photo Mode here, gonna set up the cover for this episode. Thank you guys for joining me. It's good to be back. Germy McSickface signing off. And remember, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, spread a little good in the world. And holidays are coming up, so Thanksgiving is right around the corner. Have some good memories with your family, some good food, and treasure those people that are in your life while you have them, okay? All right, guys. I'll talk to you later.